Telogrus Rift, the Void Elf capital, has just received a massive update on the 10.2.7 PDR. This is a void planet, very likely split by the Sword of Sargeras in the ancient past, making it very similar to Azeroth and of course very related to the World Soul saga. We datamined the encrypted Void Elven leader, we datamined Xal'atath's first official model in the game, we datamined a ton of Harbinger quest names, sort of revealing what is going on with the story. Alongside this, like 100 different unique assets were discovered on the PTR with a unique Void Elven aesthetic, signaling that this is just the start of updates they are about to receive. Furthermore, Dalaran for some reason received updates and got a portal in the Telogrus Rift, turning this place finally into something more than just a half-developed outpost. So is this the beginning of a new capital for the Void Elves in the game, and what are all the updates we got for 10.2.7? Did you know you can play WoW on your phone? You can check in on your characters, you can play the game, you can even do minor things you don't really want to do on the PC with this video sponsor, Awesome, allowing you to control your PC with your phone completely free, available for Windows, iOS, and Android. Awesome is incredibly easy to use. Check out my link in the description, download the PC and the phone version, and just connect it. The free version itself is amazing as you can control your desktop, transfer files, but the real deal is the game version. It has custom keyboards for various games other than just WoW, and you can enjoy AFK gaming at any time, anywhere with game sound. Make sure to use my code Doran to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart plug to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on Pro and Game versions. Check out Awesome. So, this is kinda expected, but also kinda unexpected at the same time. Seeing that they announced Midnight, Void Elves getting a huge update was inevitable, especially since Illyria is one of the main characters of the entire saga, but personally, I only thought it would happen later in the War Within and Midnight, but it turns out the big update to the Void Elves is starting already right now in 10.27, which is still Dragonflight. Keep in mind, 10.2.7, while Dragonflight is not really Dragonflight, dragon storylines, aspects and all that ended in 10.2 with a glorious defeat of Farak in the Emerald Dream. 10.2.5 was really about tying up loose ends like Gilneas, giving the Night Elves a new city, a new home, and it turns out by all the datamine information that 10.2.7 is literally the bridge between this expansion and the pre-patch for the War Within, which is going to be setting up all those Azeroth's Whispers and ultimately Khazlagar. It was already kind of evident with the fact that they announced the Harbinger questlines on the roadmap, which have actually been leaked already, and I'll get to that in a bit because it's super interesting. However, Void Elves are finally getting actual development. Thus far, they've been one of the weirder races that we've had in the game, outside of maybe the Volpira. They're pretty cool from a lore perspective, but it really felt like they just came up with them on a whim, and they never really did anything with them or developed them to any significant capacity. That is why Telogrus Rift wasn't even really a place you would even use. They were supposed to settle in this little area of Quotalas that was undeveloped and that is still inaccessible up to this day, and then nothing really happened, and then we got the Telogrus Rifting, and until this patch it has been about really as relevant as like a random outpost in Durotar. Even the entire banishment of the Void Elves has been such a strange thing when you look at it from a lore perspective. Illyria is technically a hero of the High Elves, one of the most important characters that they have, but then the Void Elves got very close to the Sunwell, caused like a mini Void invasion, and the Blood Elves were like, yeah, you better leave this place before it gets worse. They were never really banished. It's not like there was bad blood or hatred between them like the Blood Elves really hated the Void Elves. It's almost 100% certain that they're getting in on the Elven reunion in Midnight. That's probably what the storyline is even going to be about. However, of course, don't need to speculate as far as Midnight, as we're getting updates right now, as their official capital Telogrus Rift has just gotten a massive update, as we had seen on the 10.2.7 PTR. Telogrus Rift in itself is a pretty strange place, and out of all the playable races, it is really the most unique capital, if it can really even be called a capital in the traditional sense. Until recently, it has been something akin to an outpost. Now with the updates, like a super buffed up outpost connected to other places, sort of inching towards the status of a capital. Now, Telogrus Rift, if you don't know, is an ancient planet that was destroyed in the past, like ancient type history. Think of it like if we got to August like 100,000 years from now and then inhabited it, something akin to that. The official lore that we have states that it was a void-infested planet destroyed by a powerful being, killing the Great Ones that inhabited the planet. Currently, the most popular theory that I'm almost certain is going to be relevant due to the Sword of Sargeras, of course, is that this was the other planet that got hit by the sword in the past, but the sword wasn't just stuck in Certus, no, it shattered the entire planet. You might remember this little bit from the Chronicle where Sargeras just learned old gods exist and he saw terrible void horrors, so he decided to come up close and split the entire planet in a single swing. According to the lore, this was like a version of Azeroth where the Black Empire not only succeeded but went above and beyond, they fully conquered everything, so he killed the Great Ones, as the lore states. The official information is that the place still whispers with the echoes of the Great Ones that were slain by hatred of he who broke the world in rage. The thing is though, this lore is literally the perfect setup for the entire World Soul Saga, and I'm really glad they decided to actually update it and not just abandon this place. Telogrus Rift consists of 6 major islands. There are void type animals in this place, but it is essentially a dead planet completely filled with void energies, and interestingly enough, it is actually right on the brink of the void realm, as the lore states. Not sure what this means in the exact terms, but it's probably like you can access the void realm from here, but the void lords can't really manifest themselves, as remember, void lords are only powerful in the void plane, not the material plane. So when we're talking about Telogrus Rift, when it comes to actual updates, we got a ton. Most of it is from just datamined models and some places we had personally seen, as the PTR just started, but for example, some of those old elves in the past now got converted to actual void elves. We got like 100 new models, and interesting enough, all of these are actually new models that they just built. They seem to be developing this new unique aesthetic for the void elves, like this golden void mix type color, which kind of shows us that this is the beginning of the updates that the void elves are only going to get throughout the World Soul Saga, as they're developing a new art style. We got a ton of mini items like lanterns, tables, barrels, books, orbs, weapons, and such. However, what they had also done is updated a lot of these stands and added supplies, which means something big is happening here. It isn't just random update to a few minor items. It is actually very similar to the Blood Elven updates we got prior to Dragonflight release, which ended up being a pottery expedition, and it's also related to the Silver Moon update we're going to get in Midnight, no doubt. Additionally, the Void Elf leader outside of Illyria has been datamined in the 10.2.7 PTR, but he has actually been encrypted, meaning his model and his storyline will involve heavy spoilers that will be revealed later on. Now, all of this is of course related to the Harbinger questline and Xal'atath, as we had of course datamined the first official unique model for Xal'atath in the game. Until recently, she was really just a random void elf body that she took. Check out my previous video as I've covered the entire Harbinger questline in detail, as we had not only discovered her model but also 13 different unique quests where some are really spoiler heavy, so I really get into the details here. But to quickly sum it up, we had kind of extrapolated some things from this information, and it seems like we will be tracking down Xal'atath to the Void Realm, figuring out what she was doing with Galakron and that Dark Heart, and ultimately it also seems like she will escape and we will have to defend the Telogrus Rift from a Void attack. All this makes complete sense. I mean, if you wanted to follow a Void agent, you would do it to a place that is right at the edge of a Void Realm, and because of these quests and this new mission, I'm certain they decided to beef up the Void Elven capital because we're going to use it as a staging ground. Another interesting sort of related thing is that for some reason the Legion version of Dalaran has also received an update in 10.2.7. Keep in mind, this is the current up-to-date Dalaran, and as far as we know, lore-wise, Dalaran is still in the same place. The Vorgen and the Forsaken were replaced by the Silver Covenant and the Sun Reavers, which obviously signals reconciliation of the entire magic user group. Interesting enough as well, there is a Kirin Tor banner in the Telogrus Rift, which signals that this is going to be related, as it is right next to a portal. Very likely, this questline will involve us going back to Dalaran, as remember, from the War Within cinematic, Illyria was actually going and traveling to Dalaran to learn what those whispers are that she's getting, as she's on her mission to track down Xal'atath, and they also told us the entire Illyria-Xal'atath rivalry is going to be a huge thing in the War Within. Furthermore, there have been talks about the Void Elf leader Umbric joining the Council of Six. It actually makes sense, as Caligos has just done the be aspecting right at the end of Dragonflight, so his spot could potentially be taken by the Void Elf leader, and that might be why Illyria was going to Dalaran in the first place. Plus, that might be exactly why he's actually encrypted on the PTR, as if we got the title Council of Six, you know, Umbric, it would definitely spoil the entire questline for the PTR. Now, of course, in regards to the updates to the Telogrus Rift, this is all almost certainly done because of the big Xal'atath Harbinger questline that will be leading us into the War Within. Technically, this place is the official capital of the Void Elves, but I'm not sure they're actually going to settle there. I think the place is going to be relevant, it will be a big staging ground for us in the future, but technically, it is really a dead planet. I think this could be like a new Dalaran, a very mobile, useful base of operations, as we will, of course, be dealing with a Void invasion, and this is right on the brink of the Void realm. This is, of course, supported by the fact that these updates that we had found seem all to be related to things you would see in an outpost, so barrels, supplies, tents, and other similar items that are used for a mission, like sort of a temporary outpost. Personally, I think the Void Elves are going to return back to Silvermoon in about midnight, which is what is ultimately going to trigger the Void invasion in the expansion, as that is what triggered the first Void incursion near the Sunwell, and we know the new Void invasion is happening through the Sun. However, I think Telogrus Rift will be relevant throughout the entire World Soul saga. Everyone seems to be getting their home back, and while Telogrus Rift is not exactly a place to, you know, settle and raise a family at, it is going to get developed further, without a doubt. It is even possible that the Void might destroy this place, which will force the Void Elves to go to Silvermoon, as obviously they would no longer have a place to go home. If the Void Lords are going to invade Azeroth, I doubt they're not going to invade our base that we are using, that is right next to the edge of their own natural realm. Thank you for watching. Check out Xal'atath Harbinger questline in detail by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.